Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spider's in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Places such as Laguna Seca, Road America, and Watkins Glen get thrown around as classics in American road racing, but an often overlooked gem is Virginia International Raceway. Technical, fast, and punishing, this place provides a challenge like few others around the continent. How will our drivers handle it today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you haven't heard of VIR before, don't worry. We have our handy GSRC track guide ready to help introduce you. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. This track near the southern border of its namesake has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. With 2 decades of use in its modern incarnation and still drawing regular visits from IMSA and Trans Am, it's safe to say that VIR is back and thriving. The owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 7 versions are available to run on iRacing, with viewing areas that include posh villas near South Bend that can be rented by fans. The track's long and complex layout has earned it some colorful corner names too. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, fast cars lacking downforce are sent through the terrifying climbing S's and spit out of the steep drop of South Bend. Of course, there's perhaps the most famous turn of Oak Tree, which has sadly lost its eponymous flora in real life, but is retained here in the virtual world. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery in order to get the most out of a lap. As you'd expect, the high number of corners makes passing rather difficult. Add in the fact that many of them are dangerously swift, and track position can wind up being a major factor in races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, Jake, VIR, sometimes nicknamed the mini green hell just because it is so technical around here. I'm sure with these 79s, it's going to be quite the task.
This is pretty green in terms of a landscape, and it does have that feel of do not make a mistake around here because it will be punished. Ground effect cars on a 17-turn, 5.26 kilometer, 3.25 mile track, which for all intents and purposes here today is going to be a tough challenge. You've got that run to the horseshoe as the first real overtaking opportunity, but then you've got that really technical run up towards the oak tree, immortalized here in iRacing. The snake, the climbing S's, the south bend, that is where you need all the downforce possible, and then that run along Madison Avenue to a very tough final sector. The roller coaster, which is going to be the prime place today to get it done, and all the way to the hog pen to finish off what is an incredible lap. I expect racing today to be very tough, very hard fought for, and I think that the driver that wins it today will do so on outright pace.
No doubt on that. Well, outright pace has been something a lot of people have been looking for in the championship because Topi Kortaniemi still seems pretty quick. Now, he has faced some competitors who are not vying for the championship that have come in and been very fast, and they are not really on this one except for Andy T, who is back today, so he should make it interesting for him if he keeps showing up. He has kind of been back and forth on how many he's going to be able to be here for this season. Millward's been quick, but not quite quick enough. And Gernot Frische, as has kind of become his MO, has been just really consistent. He's been top 5 all but the first round so far this season, and that's what's put him into third. You look a little bit farther down, you got some very close fights, such as for 7th between Labrosse and Andy T, but I expect T to start to jump up, and then Simone and Sanchez round out your top 10. What about the team standings here, Jake?
Well, it's been the Team Essex Lotus team that has been head and shoulders at this point in time, 127 points. But it is an incredibly close battle between the two French Equipe teams, Equipe Renault Elf and Equipe Ligier Gitanas, 30 and 31 points back, respectively. Vorsteiner Arrows Racing team find themselves 4th, with the Parmalat Racing team in 5th. Williams in 6th position, and then the Ferrari, surprisingly, down at the bottom in 7th. So work to do, but the Lotus team have certainly looked the strongest, Joe.
They really have. As for today's race details, we are at the halfway point after this checkered flag falls, 26 laps that they're going to be running around here. It's an open setup. Now, that's going to be a bit of a question mark. There's some very fast corners around the circuit you want the downforce for, but there's also a couple very long straights that could sway you to try and take some of the wing out, especially if you need to make some passes. There's no spare car as well. They do have a lot of runoff, but none of it is gravel traps or paved runoff. It's just grass up to the barriers basically everywhere. Drive-through penalty is at 17 incidents and its qualification at 25. We're not expecting too many to be able to dip their wheels off often here and be able to get away with that without spinning it off and away to the outside. So as we head off to the qualifying, we've got a few of them with times in here in top split, and no surprise, Luis Nunez, who has returned after taking the win last week at Summit Points, is currently the quickest over Andy T.
Yeah, and Luis Nunez is a driver who is very, very adept in open wheel, very much like another driver who finds himself in this series quite a bit in Tamash Simon. Luis Nunez using this as a way to race, as he also does in the iRacing Grand Prix series. So he has a lot. So we take a driver's eye perspective. Look how much counter steer he was having to take going through the right, leading up then to the oak tree. It was a case of the car's turning right, but his steering wheel was pointing ever so slightly to the left. So it really does show how much you have to be balancing on this machine. And on Madison Avenue, you crest that rise, the track drops back down the hill, and then you've got an uphill braking zone and a turn into this break, which makes this corner so incredibly difficult. Flick it through the right, and then you're riding a roller coaster down the hill, looking for every element of grip through the hog pen to finish off the lap. Turn 17, turn 17A, and then over towards the start-finish line. It's Andy T who's gone quickest on a 34.402, and Luis Nunez over the line, a 34.472. So just short a lap time, pretty much plucked from the heavens from Andy T.
Yeah, Courtiniemi couldn't match them either. In fact, he's way off the pace in comparison, so not sure if a win is on the cards unless something happens to T and Nunez based on the pace that we're seeing. This is Pablo Suarez, who's on his second lap right now, heading through South Bend. And then it's up through Oak Tree once more in that number 17. Also worth noting, I was talking about Gernot Friesche earlier, sadly not attending here today. We're missing a little bit of drivers, we think possibly because of the iRacing Spa 24 just finished up a little bit, a few hours earlier this morning. So probably a lot of very tired drivers that maybe are taking the week off since they do have drop weeks here to help them out. So Suarez, who needs to improve about half a tenth to at least get Josh Germany in front of him, is looking not like he's going to be that much quicker this time around.
Yeah, here's Pablo Suarez then, looking for what is a lap time over, and they are going to be pushing to the absolute limit of what their machines can give. That second lap is going to be slightly quicker than the first, and a 36.3 then coming over the line is going to be good enough for 12th fastest then, just the one position gain coming over the line. So most drivers now are into the final minute and a half, have done their 2 laps. The only driver who's on a lap right now is Daniel Banker at this point in time. So Banker is looking to cash in his lap time and hopefully move up from 14th position. 36.8 currently his fastest time as he approaches the line, and it is not any improvement there for Daniel Banker. So that will be absolutely everybody done in qualifying here, Joe. And I tell you what, it's 2 up the top and everywhere else is fighting. I'd say this is a good round for those who want to use a drop week to have one.
Absolutely, and certainly looks like it's going to be domination up at the top with that grid now set. Andy T taking the pole position here, and that is 2 bonus points. That will be important since he's got 3 missed rounds as he was away for a while to try and make up if he does try and vie for the championship. Nunez is currently second and starts on the front row. Topi Courtiniemi will start from third, but is way behind on pace if you look at those lap times. Timothy Reed will be starting from 4th position. You've got Ove Trangrade P6. Karthik Pai will be 7th, followed by Finnegan. And then Edwards, Petmeyer, and Labrosse are on row 5.
Then over the page to row number 6, Ryan van Voorst will find himself there with Pablo Suarez. We saw his run will be in 12th position. British driver in 13th, called Joshua Germany, racing here in the United States for this track. So there's a bit of a continental affair there for Joshua Germany in 13th with Daniel Banker in 14th. Barry West is there along with Keith Herner on row 8. The final 2 positions will be housed by Chris Roberts and Daniel Gallis. Chris Roberts, the only driver in the field today here, Joe, who has a dedicated spotter to him. Topher Roberts will be helping him out over the course of today's action.
I'm glad we pulled up the temperatures here because it is quite hot on the track surface, 118 Fahrenheit. Now, we saw high temperatures last week at Summit Point, and kind of wondering if maybe some of the drivers, because of that experience, have cranked a little bit more wing in. Seemed like there was a lot of sliding last time.
Yeah, and they have to be very cautious about sliding because they've got so much power from those engines that they've got in the back, and because of that it's translated to torque, and because of that torque the wheels do like to spin up, and it becomes very difficult to put the power down off of the exit of sections of track. So you've got to be really alert to how the car is going to handle, especially in the lower speeds as well, because you don't have that effect of ground effect helping to plant the car down. You're reliant on the mechanical grip of the car.
And this car, not known as much for the mechanical grip, it uses a lot of the downforce from the underside, the ground effects to suck it down. It pioneered that, this Lotus 79. So we wait for the rest of them to grid up. You can see just a couple spots that are still waiting for the drivers to wrap up whatever last tweaks they need to make to that open setup and put themselves out there. So will Andy T be able to best Nunez today after Nunez took the win last time? Looks like we have everybody out there. So the engines start to rev as the lights come up here for round 6, and the green flag is out off the line. It looks like we are pretty good as they come down into the horseshoe. This is where things get stacked up often, though. People have got to be aware as they all crunch down together. A little bit of 3 wide.
Luis Nunez there getting a huge tap from Andy T, who had bucket loads of wheel spin off at the start. So the top two in qualifying coming together, and there's a spinner in fourth position. It's Timothy Reed, who goes straight on at the NASCAR bend.
Oh, a few cars, it looks like, having trouble there. So already towards the back of the pack, seeing some issues that are going to set people behind for this race. But up at the front of it, it looks like T does have a pretty good lead over Cortiniemi as Nunez gets shuffled down into third, and then they've got to break back to Karthik Pai. Nice job for him to get up to fourth.
Yeah, and in the background there, you would have seen on the run through the Snake, Van Voorst, Banker and Germany all off the road as they go through. So at this point in time, top three drivers are away. T, Cortiniemi and Nunez, your top three. Karthik Pai fourth. Labrosse fighting for fifth position in the back of shot right now with Nathan Finnegan at this point in the number 12. So some good passes in play. Finnegan in the purple right now, in the yellow Labrosse, but Nunez now has work to do. He's got to try and get past both of the Raccoon Racing cars. Big contact as both Labrosse then and Finnegan find the tyres at the roller coaster.
Oh, and that's a pretty big hit out to there. It looks like Finnegan's not able to get going. Labrosse is trying to get... Oh, he's upside down. Labrosse is on his lid, so he's absolutely going to have to take a tow. This has been a messy start for the top split. Usually very good racing out here in the Lotus 79s, and sad to see that. I know Trangrade's incident, we're hearing, had a little bit to do with some contact from behind as he spun up the tires, and unfortunately other cars were a little too close to him. But the front of the field is a lot cleaner. Still T, Cortiniemi, Nunez, your podium.
That's how they stand at the moment, but it's going to be how Luis Nunez here over the course of 26 laps can open up an overtake here. There is one role for Cortiniemi. Yes, he's leading the championship, but he doesn't have the same level of pace as what Andy T has today. So if Cortiniemi wants to win this race here, Joe, he's going to have to figure out a way of holding back Luis Nunez, who has comparable, if not equal pace to Andy T over the course of racing action. So it's been a tough start, and as things stand, 4 drivers have not crossed the start-finish line on that opening lap. Banker, Labrosse, Finnegan and Trengarade all in trouble. So of 18 starting, we've currently got 14 running.
And I'm keeping an eye here as we watch Cortiniemi and Nunez to see what their speed is like coming down the straights. And it seems like they're actually pretty close to one another. A little bit of slipstream helping out Nunez to get about a mile an hour or two faster, but doesn't seem like he has all that more top end compared to Cortiniemi, which will help that number 3 throughout the race, no doubt. Already finishing lap 2 and still not seeing any change among those top 3, although we have had, or we did have a pretty close fight for 8th for a while. Looks like Reed is stretched away. That has now come down to 3 cars between Roberts, Germany, and Pep Meyer back there. As now we take a look at the battle coming down into turn 1 between Suarez and West. This is for 5th.
I tell you what, Barry West on that opening lap gained 10 places off of the start. So that is massive for Barry, who is someone who out there who loves his racing, has been around this community for a long time, one of the more loved drivers, well-respected driver who turns up every week looking for an opportunity, and he might have just found his golden ticket today to score some massive points. Pablo Suarez has been around iRacing for a very long time as well. He's raced in everything open wheel pretty much, and now he looks to open up the opportunity side by side through the S's, but Suarez gets it all shades of wrong. Wasn't expecting to continue that fight and has to skirt across the grass, and he's got away with one.
Oh, he's very lucky to get away with that. Kept the car pointed forward. Didn't lose all that much time to West. And he has served whatever slowdown penalty he would have gotten from that. So he's only 0.8 of a second behind. Now we take a look at Timothy Reed. I said he was pulling away from those behind. He's also pulling past and beyond Keith Herner. Easy pass, it seems, on the front stretch. I was trying to see on that view back if there's any damage on Herner, and I'm not seeing any. So I think that is just straight up top end for the number 5.
Yeah, Timothy Reed is someone who does have that turn of cadence, who can make positions, so Keith Herner's going to have to be a bit of a quick learner in this one. And you can already notice just one car in front. Timothy Reed's already all over the back of Pablo Suarez. In fact, it's going to go around the outside, over the front stretch, take the position at the line, and make the pass. So Timothy Reed has eyes of grandeur here in this race, and I would say would like to try and reach the lonely figure right now of Kartik Pai if possible.
Yeah, he's already backed only 2 down from where he started, so great recovery from that number 5. And before he gets up to Barry West, wonder if we have a chance to maybe take a look at some of the replays from the opening lap. I'd love to get a second shot of some of those incidents coming through there. And here we go. I wonder if this is the first wreck that we had coming into the corner. This is the pass, actually, it looks like, as that's Nunez there in the red machine, in the Ferrari liveried machine, and just gets kind of squeezed out a little bit. Did a very good job to keep it from spinning, it looks like.
Yeah, with a tyre in the grass, it's so easy for that to happen. So there was the first spin right in the back of shot there at the back. But that's definitely not the plan that was certainly wanted. So this is Daniel Banker. That's why he stopped, because the engine went boom on the back that had already lost the front left of the wing. So that was certainly dramas. And this is where it goes wrong between Labrosse and Finnegan. So Finnegan finds the wall. Now keep an eye on Labrosse here, because he makes contact here. But as he goes down, there is a section of track which does effectively become a massive jump, and he's already gone over it at that point, and ultimately that rips the car up and over, and not many drivers know about that small dip. Whoop, up, over, goodbye.
Yeah, similar situation at Silverstone with the Camel Series too. A driver went off at Maggots and Beckett's and just somehow hit a hidden bump that completely took the hood off his Audi. So you got to watch out when you're off the track. It's not always smooth sailing out there. But as we come back live, T is still your leader. It's still at about 2.5 seconds over Cortiniemi, our championship leader. And Nunez there in the red, number 2, just behind Topi.
Just behind, but I tell you what, this is a case of Luis Nunez cannot get by Topi Cortiniemi at this point, and he's hemorrhaging 0.6 of a second every lap to your race leader. Timothy Reed, by the way, is through on Barry West, so he's up now into 5th position. But the key here for Luis Nunez is he's got to try and chase down someone like Andy T. Andy T is so quick. He's in a Finnish-based team in Raccoon Racing. In fact, they joke so much, Joe, about how quick Andy T is that he must be Finnish, and sometimes they call him Auntie T.
Yeah, he's even got an account that uses that name somehow. And Luis Nunez has got to really try and get past Topi Cortiniemi here. He has been plugged up, but unfortunately, it seems like there is a lot of wing in that car. We're hearing that there's only 2 kilometers per hour difference on the back straight, even in the slipstream of Topi Cortiniemi. And here you can see him trying to pull on him. He is gaining, but it's not nearly enough down into the horseshoe. So as he sits and waits, all he can do is hope that he can get a mistake maybe in one of the corners out of the fin, because he's certainly not passing on the straights.
Well, it's always a gamble when you try and work out a setup as he misses the apex through the NASCAR bend. It's always a gamble how you set the car up. There's nothing wrong with putting more wing on the car here around this sort of track at VIR. If you are quicker overall, you put the car on pole position and you can get away early. The issue is he had contact on lap 1, which meant that he was back in 3rd position, and now because he doesn't have the straight line, overtaking becomes 100 times harder here, Joe. That's what makes Luis Nunez's race so difficult right now, is because he knows he's quicker over the course of a lap compared to Topi Cortiniemi. Cortiniemi's just got a little bit more straight end or top end speed, so it's making Luis Nunez's life a very frustrating one. He'll keep reading the rear wing over and over, trying to figure out where can I make a pass.
So Raccoon Racing 1-2 right now is made evident by that rear wing, and yeah, even as close as he is, he's going to take a look, though. He's able to get side by side. Can he brake late enough? No, he is not able to quite get there. We've had another battle brewing a little farther back in the field, with Barry West being chased down by Suarez, and now Keith Herner trying to close up. Does Suarez instead have enough here compared to Barry? He's gaining a little bit himself, but no, it's not as close as we saw with Nunez and Cortiniemi.
It's also the sort of track, Joe, where you can just run the middle of the road, and if you do that, it becomes almost impossible to overtake. These cars are pretty wide in the rear, and as such, they are going to be difficult to get around, and you do need to leave a little bit more room in these Lotus 79s than you would have to do a traditional racing car out there, Joe, just because there is so much torque and there is that tendency for the car to slide out of the exit. So you have to leave a little bit more out there. Close, but not close enough for Pablo Suarez to try and get that move, but he'll put the power down a little bit earlier than Barry West, who was trying to really maximize the exit of the horseshoe. But again, not quite finding it here as they go through the left hook and right hook. And off the road just there is Pat Labrosse, who is one lap down, has been able to use that toe and get back racing again. He's going to try and find as many points as possible at this point in time from a recovery.
Yeah, he's still down in 14th, unfortunately, and looks like he was mostly just trying to stay out of the way. Well, a fat rear end of the car, desirable to the one in front, but not for the one chasing tail, unfortunately, as we come back to Nunez once again. And he is within 0.3 of a second, not as close as he was on the previous lap. Breaking into the roller coaster, he continues to lose ground to Andy T. It's now almost 4 seconds up the road. T's having it his own way on his return today.
Yeah, he certainly is. Time for tea and then some at this point, and I think he could finish off an after-eight mint after this race, or any other type of chocolatey beverage after a meal. So he's certainly got a long run of things today, and he's been comfortable at the front. Nothing can be done in terms of that move for Luis Nunez. He gets close once again at the horseshoe, but doesn't have quite enough to make that pass, and will just have to be a little bit more patient with the way this race has gone. And everyone's sort of formed their own little pack at this point. You've got the lead battle, you've got the battle going on for 6th position on back. We haven't really talked too much as well, Joe, about the battle 11th, 12th and 13th, because from 13th to 11th on this lap, I believe Ryan Van Voorst has just gone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Gallus went the reverse way. We've got a replay on what caused that. Daniel Gallus in the number 7. It looks like, I think, Oak Tree caught him out. Easy one to get wrong. And, ooh, it starts sliding early. Oh, wow. He caught that in a big way. And usually the drivers slide off in the middle there. And instead, he somehow drifted through the corner. Fantastic handiwork.
It's so easy to go too deep at the Oak Tree because it's two apexes effectively bundled into one. You have to slow enough in the first apex so that you don't have that going, as here comes Nunez now for the first time going to the outside. There's contact. Courteniemi tips him round, and Luis Nunez's day goes from bad to worse on this one. Tried to pinch him in on the inside, and just that little bit of understeer. There was no way Courteniemi was going to stay rigid and resolute to that inside line. There was just no way. The car was always going to slide out wide.
And already an apology from Topi on that one. So let's see from above. This should give us a good picture of it. And yeah, I think that was more Nunez maybe pushing his luck, getting a little close to that inside line.
I mean, that line would have been okay. He did leave racing room. Whoa! How far out wide do you want to go on the front stretch? My goodness me. Joshua Germany having a huge moment, as he'd actually done so well to catch up to the back of Keith Herner. That's opened up the door and has completely let through Pep Meyer then into position. So Josep Meyer moves up into what is now 9th position on that, and he has a huge moment actually going into NASCAR Bend. So everybody is just struggling out there on track. It is worth noting that Kartik Pai has got through on Luis Nunez now, so Pai in 3rd, Nunez down to 4th.
Yeah, Pai was able to sneak by when Nunez was trying to get back on the track. We'll see if this causes even more frustration for the number 2. Meanwhile, watching Suarez here, you talked about everybody struggling today. I think the weather definitely has something to do with that. It was a 117 temperature earlier in Fahrenheit. It's now up to 121. It is boiling on the track in Virginia.
Well, in-sim time is 12:30 in the afternoon, so they are at the zenith of track temperature, and on top of that, it is going to induce understeer out there on track. They are really going to struggle to try and find it. Pablo Suarez is trying to close that gap, but he's got damage to that front wing, and he looks left, he looks right, he looks up, he looks down. He might as well take, the great class elevator. What a save that is, going down the roller coaster, full drift spec, trying to save that one. And Keith Herner suddenly is going to have his eyes light up because he's got a chance now to chase up 7th place.
And with the damage on his downforce, abusing the tires is going to make life extra difficult for Suarez. That will certainly heat them up significantly. He caught it quickly, though. But look at how much distance that put between himself and West. Herner now within half a second as they head out of the horseshoe towards NASCAR Bend. He's going to have to get a little closer, though, will Keith Herner. He's already up 8 positions. Not the hardest charger, though. That belongs to Barry West, currently at 9.
Yeah, and Barry West did all of that work on the opening lap. He's lost 1 position over the first 10 lap, or the second lap to the 10th lap of this race. He's lost 1 position. That's the Timothy Reed, who has been absolutely flying. There's 13 seconds down the road now from where he was. But Karthik Pai currently is being chased down by Luis Nunez, who has nothing to lose now at this point. He's back down in 4th position. He wants to get back up into 3rd, but he is just lifting off ever so slightly, giving that space for Karthik Pai moving into the roller coaster section, because Luis Nunez knew he couldn't make the pass into that section, so why not get a massive run out of the hog pen and give myself the best possible chance to attack over at the horseshoe?
I'll tell you one thing he does have to lose, and that is more downforce and straight line speed. You can see how wonky the front wing is right now, and it's just not helping his situation. But he is going to find the downforce. He tries to as he pulls almost a slide job into the corner, parking it in front of Karthik Pai. Pai tries to cut back underneath, but it looks like better acceleration to Nunez will firmly put him into 3rd place now. So I'm sensing some frustration out of this number 2 car, Jake.
Absolutely, and Luis Nunez with a big wiggle through the right-hander now can put the power down and go. The front wing is curled up like an old book, and he managed to get the block pass on as if he had 2 breeze blocks for brakes as he went down through. What an ability to stop the car. He completely knew to Karthik Pai's attempt to go back up and under again, and that's just the sign of having confidence under brakes from Luis Nunez. Yes, he missed his point by about 5-6 meters or so, but he still managed to get the car stopped on what are some very tough brakes to slow a car of this magnitude down.
And he got far enough away. I was worried that maybe he wouldn't get enough distance that he could keep that gap, so we head over instead to Pep Meyer, who is still sitting among not quite last of this group. We've actually got 5 cars in here. Josh Germany's the final one, but he's a little bit trailing off the end. So this is the closest fight amongst this quintet that we've got. Meyer on top of Herner now, and in fact, he looks pretty quick in a straight line. He is gaining very quick, and Herner is not covering off the inside of the kink, but it'll be on the inside of the roller coaster. Doesn't matter. Already past. Pep Meyer slides into 8th.
Yeah, Herner was very early on the brakes, effectively said, you've got the top speed, I'm not going to fight you, and that position goes. So Keith Herner now down into 9th position. It puts Josette Meyer now up 1 position for the race, up now into 8th spot at this point in time, and we aren't yet even at the halfway stage of the race. Joshua Germany now is going to look very aggressively to the outside. He would have scrubbed a lot of speed with the way that he would have made that turn in the opening section, but this is one of the issues that you have with a pack mentality style racing. Everyone's got a little bit of a boost from the car in front of them, and you do sometimes get stuck. The good news is that Joshua Germany right now is just taking everything 1 corner at a time. And that's what you need to do in a big group like this. 1 corner at a time, 1 pass at a time.
All right, so this carries on. This is really our best battle now, since the others have all kind of spread apart. Essentially for 6th place, with Barry West still retaining those 9 positions up from where he started this thing, and learning how to play good defense here. Got to think that he also probably made that car pretty slippery in a straight line to try and hold back just in case of a situation such as this. But Suarez looking close. Let's see whether or not he can use this on his way towards the roller coaster behind them. Also looking close between Germany and Herner. Herner is hurt in a straight line. He is just not going anywhere, and already past Josh Germany has the job done before the braking.
And for those drivers who have damage, they are going to be struggling a little bit more longer. That this race goes on. There goes Keith Herner in the background then, going for a very, very sedatory spin through that section of track. He tried to get to the inside and pretty much outbroke himself. And I think he actually spun it, trying to not make contact with Joshua Germany. That could have very easily have been a very similar situation to what happened lap 1, Joe.
Absolutely, and he did a good job keeping that from becoming everybody else's problem. Is an aggressive move down into the horseshoe for Suarez. Does not shake West off the racing line. He holds his ground into NASCAR Bend. Tough to make passes in there, but easy to make mistakes, as Suarez demonstrates quite readily, and he's able to get back on the road, but not before Meyer sneaks through.
Well, it just shows you how you can be looking at attacking, and all of a sudden, you've lost a position. Schrodinger's overtake. You have to attack and defend at the same time. He took a very beautiful line, actually, through NASCAR Bend. The one issue he got, Joe, was he got over the curb. It unsettled him ever so slightly. Because of that ground effect, there was a whole rush of air that went under the car and essentially took all of that downforce away, gave a little wiggle to the car. It was well held by Pablo Suarez, but ultimately one position lost. At the immortalized oak tree corner, actually makes it a little bit easier, I believe, that oak tree, to actually spot where you need to be turning, because you've got to go around the tree to go and attack. Andy T setting purple lap after purple lap, but Barry West is going to have to defend now for the first time, because over to that inside, the lightning fast in a straight line, Josep Meyer has gone flying through, and Barry West gone straight on here. He's going to lose one, maybe two spots then, as around the outside, spinning. Oh no! Contact between the pair of them. Airborne goes Barry West. Joshua Germany had nowhere to go. He was thrown so out of the rhythm because on the racing line, Barry West was trying to recover.
I thought maybe he'd be able to get back on without causing more issues, and unfortunately for Josh Germany, that was not to be. So, as Josh flies into the braking, he's going to see the car go off. He's already trying to get out of the way off to the right-hand side, and unfortunately tips around. The two of them come together.
I mean, it's no real fault of Joshua Germany there. He was trying to stay out of the way. Barry West, as well, knows how difficult of a section of track it is to get back up to racing speed. Speaking of racing speed, how good has Timothy Reed's racing speed been? He has been clawing in lap time on Kartik Pai. He's been doing 36 ones and 36 flats. He's been, on average, 1.2 seconds a lap quicker than Kartik Pai over the last 3 laps. He's been flying, but Kartik Pai has enough then on the run to this roller coaster section, which has been a roller coaster of a ride so far in this race, and Timothy Reed is only going to just wait and give himself a chance to attack and give himself that chance to get the move, and it might come on his front straight, Joe.
Well, the spin in NASCAR may have set him behind a little bit, but he's already to the positive by 2. He's trying to make that 3. Kartik Pai, who has been pretty consistent himself, leaves the door open. Reed tries to step through and unfortunately can't find the grip, as unfortunately slips and slides through the horseshoe.
It's so easy to do. He got into the corner fantastically, but then the back stepped out in the middle, which meant that Timothy Reed couldn't put the power down. He had to spend all of his energy bringing the car around and trying to save it back. So it was a good effort from Timothy Reed, but ultimately, I don't think he was planning to go to that inside as quickly, because that move suddenly materialized right as he was about to brake. I don't think he was ready for it.
Good save. Kept the car from completely going around, but yeah, it was a very, very shallow entry there for him. He's still in it. He's still behind by about 0.3 of a second. Let's see what kind of a run he can get out of Oak Tree. Both of them on the loud pedal as early as they can go, and I saw the rear slide just a little bit for that 5 car. Not sure if this is going to work out for him, but he still will get the hole in the air punched by Kartik Pai.
I don't think he's close enough this time. They're already up over the brow, and any chance to make a move, you've got to be alongside at that brow if you want any opportunity of making the pass. So no dice then for Timothy Reed. He'll have to be patient as he tries to figure out his way to get through. It is worth noting that Joshua Germany has actually lost the position once again to Barry West. That one was done into turn 1 on this lap because at the roller coaster, Joshua Germany found himself doing everything in his power to keep on the asphalt.
Well, it looks like the wing on the nose of the car is quite bent up on the driver's left there for Germany, so that's not going to help him down the straight here. Behind him, Keith Herner still trying to hold on to the tail of the pair of them himself. No doubt both of those cars in front at least a little bit damaged. Germany, we can confirm that. West, I'm trying to see, and I can't see anything super obvious from these angles, but onto the front stretch. Let's see who's the quickest down past the finish line.
Front right there, you can see, is completely bolstered in and has been bashed into the side of Barry West there. So he's dealing with a lot over the front wing and over that front right tyre. He's going to be very concerned. Joshua Germany's front wing right now looks something not too dissimilar, Joe, in terms of this race, to a 1920s vaudevillain mustache.
I was thinking the same thing. By the way, Reed did manage to get by Karthik Pai just exiting out of hog pen and outran him down the straight. So Timothy now sets his sights on potentially the podium. Depends on how hurt Nunez is after his incident running through the grass and having a little contact himself. But we watch West Germany and Herner here head through South Bend. This mid-pack has given us plenty of fun in this race. What will they give us for the remaining 10 laps?
Yeah, what will they give Keith Herner for the one drama he's had, the one spin? That Parmalat car is as clean as a whistle, so he has got a perfect machine out there in comparison to two wounded Lotus 79s just in front in the form of Germany and West. So they're both going to be looking at this race going, well, okay, we're both damaged and the car behind us is good. The good news they have is track position. This is a very track position heavy track to keep in mind, and I have been looking at the lap times right now. Luis Nunez is consistently 2 to 3 tenths of a second faster than Courteniemi. The bad news he's got is he's 8 seconds behind and he's only got 10 laps to go. I don't think he catches by the end of this race.
That's going to be too little too late unless Topi has some sort of mistake. You mentioned earlier about Andy T taking the 2 bonus points for the pole. As it stands, he's also got the 2 bonus points for the fastest lap, set a 35.5 out at the front. And that is 3 tenths faster than what Topi has done, 2 tenths quicker than what Nunez has done. So he's got quite a bit in his pocket, which we kind of expected based on what we saw in the qualifying. We continue to watch the battle on screen for 8th position. And now we switch over to Andy T and see how a master handles this incredible circuit.
This is a driver's eye perspective then, running, looking to use the marker boards on the left-hand side. Just set a 35.3, by the way, fastest lap. They're not going to be tyre limited on this track. They're going to be fuel limited. So all of the pace comes from the fact that they are burning fuel in through the NASCAR corner. And it really doesn't look like much. And this is what a great driver does. They make turning around and finding pace on a track like this, Joe, seem like it is so easy. Nothing seems out of place. That car and Andy T are as one. It is a perfect balance and syncopation.
Yeah, not seeing a lot of correcting on the wheel. I think he is very comfortable right now. That 35.3 is nearly a half second quicker than anybody else's fastest lap out today. Nunez with the 35.792 is the closest anybody has gotten to that. Out of Oak Tree, once again, small little correction just to straighten out the car. And now look at the speed as he flies along the fastest part of the track.
Yeah, going along Madison Avenue and running over towards what is that all-important roller coaster section. He has been on an absolute drive at this point, and only Andy T at this section can stop Andy T. Takes a little bit of curb and drops down the hill. Has not missed a single apex on this lap. He has hit every curb as if it is the natural born thing to do, and running then out of the hog pen and over towards the line, takes that nice narrow run forward, trying to cut as much track as possible away. Andy T then over the stripe for that was only a 35.7. That's not too bad, considering that was a little bit off the pace compared to some of the other laps, but still, it just shows you just how much of a cadence he has at this point. Barry West still having to play the defense game with Joshua Germany, but I think his damage to the front, oh, how close do you want to be? Joshua Germany almost spearing up behind Barry West at that point in time, and the 13 of Keith Herner cannot capitalize.
Yeah, they're just too spread apart now. As we were riding on board with T, we could see the speed at the end of Madison Avenue here. He reached 175 miles an hour. For comparison, Cortiniemi and Nunez are only getting up to about 170. So that's a pretty significant difference by the time you hit the end of the straight, and that's why he is able to pull away so easily from all behind. As we come onto the front stretch once again, and it seems like these three are a bit stuck. Despite Herner having the cleanest car among them, doesn't have the raw pace compared to the 16 and the 4.
Might be waiting for Joshua Germany to make another move on Barry West. That might be the last thing he's thinking of. If those two come together, I can pick up 8th position without having to do any work. And it comes down to game theory right now. When do you want to be aggressive, or where do you want to see the driver in front of you making a mistake? That was one from Joshua Germany through to the NASCAR bend, and it's going to be a struggle through a certain part of corners. Barry West has just had an awful right hook out on track, and through the snake, he is going to be so slow. Joshua Germany's all over him, moving over to the left-hand side of the circuit, trying to find that move. Barry West has been really good in a straight line. They're going to come together. Oh my goodness, Germany almost lost it. How is there not contact?
That's the second time we've seen a driver go side by side and someone go off through there and not manage to lose it. Oh, and something happened to Nunez.
It absolutely
Nunez is
did.
out.
He is, and that one has happened then going through, I believe,
roller coaster.
Yeah, just before the roller coaster. So he's just going to spin the car up here. On the brakes he goes, and the car just completely locks up. It doesn't turn, and it looks technical in my view there, because there wouldn't be any other reason really that Luis Nunez would lose out. He blew the engine on the downshift.
Yeah, we're going to watch it one more time. Let's listen in. If you've got an H-pattern shifter, this car can so easily do that. Here we go. Let's listen. Yeah, as soon as it went, round the car goes. So
Joe, if you remember round 1 of the Formula 1 World Championship this year and how Sergio Perez's car seized up at turn 1, it looked exactly the same.
Yeah, that's a good point. But we come back once again to Germany. Was not able to overtake Barry West, and now he has to play defense on Herner, who took a look down at the left hook. No dice on that one. But credit to Barry West, still sitting in 7th position. Couldn't hold back Pep Meyer. Meyer was able to get through, but up 8, still our hardest charger in that number 16 car. He's gained one since Nunez has retired from this race, which, by the way, out of our 18 starters, we're down to only 13 left. This track has just been gobbling them up.
It is a very difficult circuit, and it's one which, for a long time, Joe, in terms of its legacy and its history, wasn't actually a racetrack. It was initially in the 50s. It didn't get renovations till after the turn of the millennium, and you can actually still find videos out there on YouTube of the owners of the circuit as Herner has a little look to the inside. Can't quite find it now heading to the roller coaster as Germany covers off the move. You can actually still find YouTube videos of the track owners going around what is essentially a field at the time, going, okay, so this is the straight, this is how we want it. Yeah, absolutely. And they actually showcase in the mind just how VIR gets built.
Yeah, it wasn't changed hardly at all from its initial incarnation, as it looks like Herner's going to get another bite at things and trying to get back to the racing line. Does he get shoved off? There was a little weave from Germany. I'm not sure if there was contact, but that sent Herner off regardless, and he is, comes back on and hits Ryan Van Voorst in the process.
I don't think there was contact there for Keith Herner. I think it was very, very close to it, and that just spooked Herner off the road and into the grass. You're going to see here, it is going to get as close front to rear contact as it gets. You can see he's trying to pinch that inside, or maybe a little bit, but that wouldn't have been enough to shift the car over. But watch the rejoin. This is the dangerous part here as he comes back on. Herner looking to get through on the power, straight on. Ryan Van Voors, I think, is just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, well, I kind of put that one a bit more on Herner, I think. Just he unfortunately was not keeping an eye out like he should when he returned to the track. Thankfully, both of them still moving. We're down to 5 laps to go. But yeah, you were talking about the track. They were essentially following where the track used to be as they did that video, and we're trying to make sure that out.
Daniel Gallis just behind this has just had a massive off at the oak tree.
And that's not the first driver we've seen have issues into that double right-hander. In fact, I think he almost caused Andy T to go off himself. Watch the car behind him have a moment as he suddenly sees the car in front start to spin.
This is how easily you can get spooked as a driver. Just goes in a little bit too hot. Andy T wouldn't have been expecting that, and just runs it rear first into the wall, which is probably one of the best ways to put it in the wall, believe it or not there, Joe, because it's probably going to do the least amount of damage.
Woo, good catch there from Andy T. That's a third time that Gallis has gone off in this race at that same corner. That seems to be his Achilles heel. Amazingly, even with the hit into the wall on the third time, after the first two he managed not to, the 7 car is still sitting in 11th position. It's been so treacherous out there today that many drivers have had problems. We're down to the 13 left that I mentioned, but Labrosse, who is the last of them, is a lap down and kind of in no man's land. Remember, he was trying to earn a few. Unfortunately, he's only gotten the one from Nunez after he has retired the car. But this man up at the front, Andy T, is a full 11 seconds ahead of Courtiniemi. Topi has been able to take good advantage of the 3 rounds that T missed and won all 3 of them. But Andy T is going to continue his streak of winning races that he has shown up for as he won the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, Andy T today has just been above and beyond what Topi Courtiniemi has been able to achieve. And I think it really does show with the way that Andy drives, how in sync he is with the car. He gets this car right down to a level. And I think that drivers like Topi Courtiniemi, it's a huge boon to have someone like Andy on your team at this point in time, because you have that ability to learn and understand how they drive the car, how they set up a machine, and how it is tailor-made to the Andy T style of driving. Courtiniemi's got a bit of work to do to get back to that, but I would say he's not a million miles away. Half a second can be found, but it's the toughest half a second that you find, Joe, over the course of 1 lap pace and race pace. It is always the last one which is the most difficult.
Temperatures continue to climb out here. It's already up to 125 Fahrenheit now. Remember, it started about 118, 117 when the race began. But Andy T has been unfazed by that as his teammate Topi Courtiniemi just cannot hang on. And we talked about how tough this place is. Well, it has not made some fans today, I'm sure, amongst the drivers, but it's given us quite the angle. Did we have another issue with Gallison for the first time? Not at Oak Tree. Down into Hogpen, he discovers himself wallowing in the mud for a bit.
Yeah, and it's a case of once you're bitten once in this car, second time, third time, always becomes more and more frustrating as a driver. You lose confidence in the way that you drive, and especially when the car isn't at 100% and isn't healthy, there isn't really much you can do in order to bring that car back. Give credit, though, to Timothy Reed, who has really had to fight back today. He's got himself up into 3rd position, and his lap times right now are only a couple of tenths of a second slower than your race leader, Andy T. So if Timothy Reed hadn't have had the start that he had today, he would have been right up there fighting for the win today.
And Gallus went off again. You want to guess where, Jake?
Would it be Oak Tree Corner?
You are correct, sir. On the exit, he just trundled along in the dirt for a bit when he went a little wide. Amazingly, he's still a full minute ahead of Pat Labrosse, so I think he's safe to the finish as long as he can keep it on the circuit and hold the car together. I talked about how sometimes this place is referred to as the mini green hell. We're going to the actual green hell next round, Jake. So hopefully the guys that are having problems are using this as a training tool.
Double dipping into hell. That is not what I would call fun in terms of a schedule, but that's the schedule. It's not going to change. It is going to be what they have to deal with. And if this is a prelude to what is going to happen 1 week from today, then these drivers are going to have to be on their best behavior. There is Andy T, your leader. We're on board right now, and that is Keith Herner. He's about to put a lap on. So he is now suddenly getting into the top 10 on cars to lap. And I would say that this reduced field has shown a little bit more of the differences and the disparities in terms of the gaps and pace. And what I would say as well, Joe, is that we were desperately unlucky today here at VIR to have ourselves 2 splits worth of racing. It looked for a moment that we were going to have a bumper 30-odd split race.
So white flag is out now for Andy T. 1 more to go. And he's got plenty of gap. He does not have to push it from here to get to that checkered flag. It's honestly been quite a brutal season in terms of track selection. The only one, really, I'd say that isn't difficult in a really punishing way at the first, about 8 rounds here is the Red Bull Ring, the opening one. Since then, it's been Bathurst, Brands Hatch, Mosport, Summit Point, VIR today, Nürburgring, Detroit is after that. And then finally, they'll get a little bit of relief when we head off to Road Atlanta for the round following Detroit. So I don't know who decided on the schedule for this season, but clearly they're some sort of masochist.
Well, they definitely don't like drivers having an easy time with things when they race. But Andy T, just behind Ryan Van Voorst, can afford actually not to lap Ryan Van Voorst at this point in time. The gap is large enough to Courteniemi. There isn't really too much that has gone wrong in that race by comparison. So what more can you say? Andy T has been head and shoulders above the rest of the field, staved off the issues early on. The only one thing that you could maybe put a damper on was the poor start that led to side-by-side with Luis Nunez.
Oh, and there's a car off in front of him. I think that's Germany. Hopefully this doesn't take out Andy T right a few corners from the finish line. And it looks like we're going to be okay. So he might be in some traffic, but that doesn't matter. No worries, because it's another win for Andy T as he takes victory in Virginia. Simply put, a master drive from Andy T. Courteniemi will come to the line and take second position. We're still waiting. Only now will Courteniemi come over the line, and it'll be a little wait to Timothy Reed, who's just about to cross now in third position. I tell you what, this has been a really, really strong race for Andy T and the Raccoon Racing team. 1-2, and that wasn't even an easy, I would say a difficult 1-2. That was a 1-2 where they walked away from the rest of the field and did exactly what they needed to do. But I tell you what, give some credit to this driver in 7th position. He's your biggest mover in the field. Barry West effectively avoided everything on lap 1 and has simply driven his own race from there. And this has been a really, really good drive from one of the Lotus 79 favorites. It has indeed. So as the last of them come across the line, only 8 drivers managed to finish on the lead lap here. So it saw many of them fall victim to the track or simply fall behind today, but not so for Andy T. As we're going to take a quick break, we'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We've finished the halfway mark of the season here in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and Andy T returns with a performance that is not only quick but clean. 0 incidents for our winner here today after he finished a full 13 seconds ahead of his teammate Topi Kortiniemi back there in second. Timothy Reed climbed his way up to a third-place finish. Some of it was helped by the driver in front retiring, but even still, he had a mistake early and didn't let it phase him. Karthik Pai, another bit of consistency, getting another top 5. He finishes in 4th today, as 5th goes to Pep Meyer behind him. Pablo Suarez was P6. Barry West was 7th and kept a lot of people behind him, but couldn't keep them all back for the whole time. Still, he climbed a lot of places, taking advantage of the opening incidents. Josh Germany was 8th, and then Ryan Van Voorst 9th, with Keith Herner an unfortunate 10th today.
It's worth noting as well there, Joe, that Joshua Germany did hit the instant limit at 17, so he got addressed an extra 30 seconds at the end of the race. That's why he's 2 minutes 15 down there on the times. In 11th position would be Chris Roberts, and it had been a tough day today for Daniel Gallis in 12th position, so he found himself off the road, some would say more than on it, but still managed to get a good finish. Pat Labrosse almost managed to pick up that position despite being upside down at one point during this race. He took the tow, got himself back out on track, and finished in 13th. The rest of the drivers are retirees. Luis Nunez's engine gave way, and that ended his race 7 laps early. And on top of that, Armando Edwards, Ove Trengere, Nathan Finnegan, and Daniel Banker all retiring in the opening 3 laps of this race.
And that takes us to our winner, Andy T, who is back from his vacation. And you must feel refreshed and energized because you basically dominated the field out there today and did so with a 0X. But it sounds like one of those might have involved a little contact, though.
Yeah, I've just watched that back if you're referring to lap 1. I can't really go much slower or tighter without slowing down to an absolute crawl. And if I do that, Topi's going to rear end me. I mean, it's a tough pass around the outside there anyway, so he was asking a lot. And yeah, I don't really know what else. It's racing incident, really.
That seemed like a racing incident to me as we're going to take a glance at that start here on our replay. A little bit of wheel spin there off the line. I mean, other than that, though, with the start, was there anything that basically threatened your win here today, or was it all under control?
I mean, the fact that Toppy and Lewis were fighting helps. That gave me a bit of a gap to be comfortable, and having some comfort here is really nice. It's a really unforgiving track. You'd call it a mini Nords, really. Just unforgiving corners. The curbs are deadly. You overheat the tire in one fast corner, the next one kills you. So it was mostly just about managing, really.
Well, speaking of the Nords, I'm going to take a wild guess that you're going to be skipping next week.
We'll see. I might show up. The problem I've got there is that there are so many guys who just hot lap and hot lap and hot lap Nords, like they've got infinite time or something, and I just can't do that. So I'll maybe turn up and we'll see, but I'm not expecting much.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks very much. Just a quick shout out to the fam. Hoops, as always, are the absolute worst, and thanks to me because I'm amazing. See you later, guys.
There's Andy T, your winner today, as Jake is caught up with his Raccoon Racing teammate Topi Kortaniemi, who managed second today.
I'll tell you what, he does have a little bit of swagger about him, doesn't he? Toppy, P2, and a lot of that race was spent fighting about with the car behind you in the form of Luis Nunez. It looked like you had a little bit of an extra run in straight line speed, and then it all came to a head over at the roller coaster, but it didn't really look like you had much room to really attack. It looked like you didn't really have much room to deviate from the line, and just a little bit of contact there. It didn't really look like you had much to go or any place to go.
Yeah, actually, I think Louis had less wing than I did. I just tried to push in the snake and the oak tree to get enough gap, but I knew I could defend in the roller coaster, and I gotta agree with you. I checked replay, and I think I really didn't have any more room in the inside. If I had used the curb, that just would have spit my car to the outside. So yeah, kind of a racing incident. Ended badly for Louis, but
sometimes that's just what happens. And in terms of then the rest of your race, it looked like it was all about consolidation. It would have been pretty lonely towards the end. But how important has it been having a teammate like Andy with you, having a team that is so dedicated to a car like this and drives just consistently at the front of the field?
Yeah, it helps when you don't have to spend hours for the setup work. It takes time with this car to get a good and fast setup, which goes fast in the straights too.
It certainly does. And moving on then next week, it's not going to be any easier. It's going to be over to the Nordschleife. So in terms of going from one green hell of America to the green hell of Europe, how do you look at balancing what is an incredibly difficult circuit with the demands of what is a car that doesn't particularly like it too much when it's bumpy?
I don't know, but I know it will be fun. I like the track.
Well, you like the track, and the floor is yours, Toppy. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Oh, Raccoon Boys and you guys, and Andy for blowing the way.
Well, it was a very strong performance from the championship leader, and you could say there, Joe, damage limitation. P2 is definitely not a stick to shake at.
Absolutely. It'll keep the championship lead after this one. But let's talk to third place finisher Timothy Reed, who started off a little bit rough, but didn't let it shake him at all. Tim, you made a lot of overtakes to get back to the podium. Were you a bit surprised to wind up in third?
Yeah. I knew I had pretty good pacer. I like this track. But yeah, I don't know what happened on that first lap. I got to look at the replay. I'm sure I just gave a little too much brake and then started turning in a little bit. Yeah, it was good coming through the pack. I didn't think I was going to be able to catch up to Luis or Topi, so just figured fourth place is my best shot. So fortunately for Luis, he spun off, gave me podium. But so yeah, happy with my performance, but it could have been better. I think I had pace to keep up with Topi and Luis, and that was going to be a fun race. So we kind of missed out on that.
Yeah, would have loved to have seen that. Now, we talked a lot about the setup that people decided on for this one because of those long straights. It certainly seemed to hinder a few. Did you wind up trimming the car out? And was that sort of a lucky thing, considering you probably didn't plan on being as far down as you were at the start?
Yeah, I trimmed it out a little bit. Took some wings off, added some front wing actually, and moved up the ride heights a little bit for some good top speed. Karthik definitely had more, or actually less aero than I did. His top speed was great, so passing him was had to time it pretty well on a high downforce turn, but that worked out. But yeah, it's this is an interesting track for setups. Previously, I've had higher downforce and it killed me on the straights, but I was able to have pretty good pace overall. So it's one of those definitely a compromised track when it comes to setup.
No doubt about that. Well, a third place is certainly something to celebrate. And who helped make it happen today?
Well, of course, the community. My set was based off of the community set. A lot of good support for there. A lot of good promoting the series, getting new people and good quality people into the series. So that's excellent. So everyone involved, Michael, Andy, Alex, everyone. So thanks to them. And of course, thanks to you guys.
That was Timothy Reed, your third place finisher. And hard charger today was Barry West. The number 16 car went from 15th to 8th, and Jake has caught up with him.
Well, it was more than that on the opening lap, 15th to 5th. Barry, that must have been like Christmas at the lap.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I just, the sea parted for me. Yeah, one of those lucky days.
So a lucky day for you. And talk about your middle of the race very quickly, because it was the sort of race for you where you had a lot of drivers behind trying to recover, try and find their way through. How important was it to pick and choose when to fight?
Well, my fight was with Pablo, because we had a brilliant race earlier on, and he did a really good qualifying, and I was pleased to actually get in front of him. And then I thought he was a bit quicker than me this time. I was quicker in the earlier race, but yeah, when Pep caught up, I made a mistake. I missed a gear changing down at the end of the back straight, and then went wide. And then as I came back on the track, I forced Joshua wide a little bit. There was plenty of room for him, but I think he saw the opportunity and gave a little blip of throttle to get past me quickly, which unfortunately sent his back wheels into the grass, and it spun him round, and he held it. But of course, he just caught my rear wheel, which launched me in the air. I don't know if you got it on camera, but I ended up a nice trip along the grass, managed to avoid everything, and managed to catch him up and overtake him again eventually. But I was gaining on Pablo. He was 5 seconds in front, and at the line it was 3, and I don't know if he was slowing down or what, but I was really pushing to try and catch him, but not obviously pushing hard enough to make a mistake and throw it away. But yeah, I was pleased with that, yeah.
Well, certainly have every reason to be pleased, because the Nürburgring will be coming up next time out, and we'll hope to see you there, Barry.
Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Looking forward to it. And what an incredible drive that was from him to finish where he did on what was probably one of the most incredible drives, Joe, out there of the entire race, up 8 spots, and completely deserved it. But I believe that's going to bring time for us here at VIR.
It will indeed. So we want to give a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, thanks to the team today, Jake, Ryan, Dougie, and our spotter behind the scenes, Michael the Turk. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. There's links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. That'll be Sunday, July 31st at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, including up next, the Absolute Beginners League will be at Sonoma. That's in a few minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.